Right, 2 Chronicles 24, let's call this one How Not to Get Ahead by Minimizing the Truth, a trap that we are going to seem to see King Joash fall into by the end of the chapter. But until then, he's actually going to do pretty well, as we mentioned before. The story is going to tell us that during the days of Jehoiada, the kingmaker, the one whose wife saved Joash's life as Athaliah was destroying the royal household, Jehoiada picking up the baton from her and protecting Joash until he could be made king at the age of 7, at which point he's going to reign for 40 years. But as Jehoiada gets old and he passes, all of the great things that Joash does during his years of essentially being, not completely, but mostly being supervised by Jehoiada, they're going to tail off. But during the good years, he is going to be super diligent to repair some of the damage done by Athaliah, who had some of her sons essentially loot the temple of God in order to stock up the temples of the Baals, the gods of the northern kingdom where her family came from, basically the gods that the kings of Israel had adopted. And so he is going to help undo the damage, meaning Joash is going to undo some of the damage that Athaliah and her children did to the temple, and he is going to make sure that it is rebuilt. And as a matter of fact, he's going to be independently motivated. Even though Jehoiada has counseled him in the right way to go, when he sees the Levites dragging their feet, he is going to say, why are you not diligent about taking the tax that Moses prescribed and taking the money and using it to repair the temple? And so he's going to get them motivated. They're going to make the repairs, and they're going to have money left over to actually restore or restock the utensils of gold and silver that were used for ministry at the temple as well. And so he is going to, as it said, be a great king during the days of Jehoiada. But as Jehoiada passes, the same princes that are going to applaud all of his work on helping to restore Judah to some of its former glory, they're going to come up with the bright idea saying, oh yeah, God's great, but there are better things you can be doing with your time, bud. And he's going to listen to those princes. But it's not going to take long before the entire kingdom of Judah begins to nosedive again, at which point God is going to send prophets to them. Prophets they are, of course, going to dismiss. Thus the title, Minimizing the Truth is not the best way to restore Judah to its former glory. And so it's going to get to the point where they dismiss or get in the habit of dismissing the prophets so much that Zechariah, Jehoiada's own son, is going to go to them and not simply hit them with blunt truth. He is simply going to ask them to make a connection between the habits they've taken on since Jehoiada died and the decline of the nation. And so in response to that, they are going to conspire against him since he does not seem to have enough clout to get their attention, and they are actually going to kill him in the court of the temple. And so in this particular chapter, the charge is going to seem to be obvious because the chapter is going to take pains to note the way in which Joash neglected to recall and reward the kindness that Jehoiada had shown him by essentially saving his life and making him king. He's going to kill Jehoiada's son for simply asking him to connect the dots, not beating him over the head with the truth. But his desire to minimize the truth is going to escalate through the times of the prophets he rejects to the point where he's actually going to murder a man who's simply asking him to put 2 and 2 together to come up with 4. And so the verdict is death for the princes, because even though Judah had now begun to regain some of its independence, God is once again going to bring the Syrians to invade and plunder. Oh, and while they're there, they're going to kill all of those princes who conspired to kill Zechariah. But they're going to allow Joash to escape wounded just long enough for his own servants to conspire to kill him in much the same way he conspired to kill Zechariah. And 2 of those servants who conspired to kill Joash, the chapter is going to make sure to name in verse 26. Yeah, when it says, those who conspired against him were Zabad, the son of Shimei, the Ammonite, and Jehozabad, the son of Shimrith, the Moabite. And the thing that caught my attention is these are not the people of Israel. But Joash's betrayal of Jehoiada seemed to be so out of line that even those who were not from among the people of God found it disgusting. And one of the reasons that seemed to catch my attention was the way in which even today, more and more, I seem to see the people of God betraying one another in ways that even outsiders find disgusting.